I want to show you some finesse skills. I want to show you some savage skills. I want to show you some obfuscation skills. Let's start a war. Start a gang war. With some savagery, finesse, and obfuscation. Wow! In Necromunda. Now tell me, do you have a gang going? I want to improve your gang with some savagery, finesse, and obfuscation.
Let's get started with some finesse skills. While this fighter is active, they may ignore enemy fighters when they're making a move action or a charge action. In effect, this allows them to just move through other fighters as long as they don't end their movement within 1 inch of them unless it's who they've charged. They can also cross over barricades and other terrain features, and if it's under 2 inches, then it doesn't reduce their movement. So our little poison pill drug running Escher, they're heading straight in with a Delque skill, really freeing up their movement potential. This is a primary for the Death Maiden, who is a brutal glass cannon in melee. You can ignore enemy screening by just passing straight through them to get to your target. On top of that, you also have a nice little add-on of ignoring some terrain and scatter elements. Your pipes, small gaps, that kind of thing. So terrain blocking and using juves to block, they're both negated. If you're going to go with a flexible melee maiden, then this is a really good start. Combat focus. So for every enemy fighter either taken out of action or seriously injured, you place a token on this fighter's card. And then this fighter adds 1 to their willpower and cool checks for each of the tokens that they've got. If you roll a double 1 on a check though, it still fails regardless of any modifiers. Willpower and cool check bonuses can be handy for Escher. Their cool was buffed in the House of Blades, but it's still quite middling. But requiring taken out of action and serious injuries is a little bit prohibitive. You'll get some use out of it. Probably not the one you want to go for unless you anticipate a problem but can expect to get some kills first. It's not stating that this fighter has to be the one who does the injuries or takes them out of action, so it's just as your team accumulates them over the battle, which I don't usually play that way. I want to bring a gun to a knife fight, not assemble a good character during a gunfight. Skip it. Combat virtuoso. Any chainswords, fighting knives, power swords, stiletto knives, and stiletto swords. So most of the gang's arsenal really. Any that are wielded by this fighter gain the versatile trait with a long range which is equal to the strength characteristic of the fighter. Does that sound good? Because it is. So some things like shock whip, they already have versatile, but shock whip is -1 to hit if you're in base contact. So you're going to get 3 inch range on their melee weapons, which pretty much just adds 3 to your charge. And it also opens up you being able to do melee fighting without charging, and there's no negatives, unlike the shock whip. I'd entertain taking this if I was using any of these weapons, really. It's a shame it doesn't include the Venom Claw, which came with the Death Maiden, a new weapon, but it's already pretty tasty, so I wouldn't let that stop me using it. Hit and run! After making a charge action, your fighter can retreat for free before your opponent can make any reaction attacks. And even if you're unsuccessful in your retreat, which is an initiative check, the opponent only gets to make 1 attack. They don't get to do a reaction attack and then still fight you. So you charge in, you punch some holes in someone, but you don't take them out, unfortunately. But you can retreat before they attack. And on the Death Maidens, it's only on a 2-up. I like it. You float like a butterfly, murder like a drugged up butterfly. When this fighter is engaged by an enemy fighter, this fighter may attempt to make a retreat action for free before the fighter makes any attacks or additional actions. Whether or not this retreat was successful, the fighter can only use this skill once per round. Note that if this fighter has a ready marker, they may still activate as normal. So this is very much like the previous skill, hit and run. It lets you duck out of combat, but whereas with hit and run is when you charge in, you get to hit and then run out. This gives you an escape if you get charged. It's a pretty good skill. I feel it could have been bundled with hit and run, but it certainly isn't a dud. Only using it once per round, obviously that stops you keep retreating back if you keep getting charged in the same round, which is a shame, but understandably that could be a little bit broken if they could do that. Somersault! This fighter gains the ability to perform the somersault action while they're standing and active. Somersault, you place the fighter anywhere within 6 inches of their current position, providing they can see the point they wish to move to before they're placed. Note that the fighter still must adhere to the 1 inch rule when being placed. Using this action does not count as moving for the purposes of effects that are triggered by movement. The last bit on the text was removed with a recent FAQ, so I'm glad I didn't rush the video. So Somersault gives you a slightly larger movement, 6 inches, not too bad, and you can make good on an escape, but not use it to engage at 1 inch. But if you have a shock whip, so a versatile weapon, it does give you a 9 inch threat range, so you could somersault out and then still hit somebody. That's pretty sexy. If you don't have that loadout, it's fine. Again, it's an alright skill, and it gives Escher what they want from a narrative and sort of functionality perspective, which is a lot of movement, a lot of flexibility. Not much is triggered by movement, some traps and the like some scenarios have things, I think, like the killer plants and stuff like that, environmental elements that they can be triggered on movement, but it's fine. Wouldn't really pick a skill for those, but the rest of it is fine. So that's the end of Finesse, and I actually really like this skill tree overall. There's no dud skills here, they're all fine. Some of them are really good. They've skipped the arbitrary campaign skill, which is good. Good, clean, chem-induced, melee, nightmarish, undead, death maiden fun. Good luck with it. Next, Obfuscation. Obfuscation skills for Delaque. Let's see what those shady little bastards have up their long suspect sleeves. Faceless. From the start of each round until after this fighter is activated, enemy fighters must pass a willpower check to target them with a ranged attack or place a blast marker so that it's touching their base. If the check is failed, the enemy fighter may choose another target. So this one's a bit like Corpse Grinder Masks. This is a crazy strong skill against gangs with middling to low willpower, and they deny the blast marker as well. God, that's filth. I love it. This would ruin my corridor flamethrower play. Now bear in mind, it's only until you activate this fighter. So if your enemy plays strategically, they could try and force an early activation and it will ruin it. Takedown. When this fighter takes an enemy fighter out of action, place the enemy fighter to one side. At the end of the battle, if the fighter's gang has won the scenario, so instead of using the normal method for determining if enemy fighters are captured, roll a d6 for each fighter that was taken out of action and placed aside by this fighter. On a 4-up, this fighter has the choice of automatically capturing that enemy fighter. Now, as normal, a gang cannot capture more than a single fighter after a battle. So increasing the chance of capturing fighters after a battle in campaign, which is handy. It's a good way of generating more cash if you can keep the fighters. But it's not just winning battles. So just for the potential of extra money, you need, number 1, the fighter with this skill has to take someone out of action. Number 2, you have to win the scenario. Number 3, you have to roll a 4-up on the fighters you took out of action. Number 4, I think, opponent doesn't want them, or the opponent fights you for them, but you also win that scenario. And F, profit. If you're a long-time subscriber, you probably know this isn't my cup of tea. I just want more blood. Side-touched. The fighter may re-roll willpower checks when attempting to activate weird powers or to resist them. When visiting the black market, as part of the post-battle sequence, the fighter may choose to purchase Ghast without the need to make an availability roll. Re-rolling willpower checks? Why yes. If I have a Psyker, I think I would very much like this. Really going to stack the odds in your favour by getting those Psyker powers off. The Ghast bit, campaign madness. Has like a 1 in 3 chance of making you insane. I think like a 5 in 6 chance of giving you random Psyker powers. If I ever talk about Psyker powers, we will come back to that. But ignoring Ghast, this is still a really good skill to have.
Open your mind. Open your mind.
Rumour Monger. The fighter can perform the despicable rumours post-battle action during the post-battle action steps of the post-battle sequence. God, that's not post-battle. So the despicable rumours, you make an intelligence check for the fighter, and if you pass, you reduce the reputation of the gang that you just faced by D3, and you increase the reputation of your gang by the same amount. What a load of shit. Reduce some rep from your opponent, give it to yourself. Rep is made plenty quick enough in a campaign. It's coming out of battles like it's got Deli Belly by round 4. Just skip it. Fake out. When making the roll to determine the scenario during the pre-battle sequence, this fighter's gang may roll 3 d6 rather than the usual 2. One of these dice chosen by the player must be discarded. So this is a campaign skill which can be handy. When you choose a mission in campaign, you roll 2d6, and here's the table on a Dominion campaign which helps you select the scenario. Obviously, getting to roll an extra d6 and removing the one you want can open up some interesting possibilities. Now, some of the missions that are in there, they're very one-sided, and you can win the matches by pretty much getting to dictate what it will be. Now, it doesn't let you choose if you're the attacker/defender. That's going to be dictated by who is challenging or who has more territories, or even on a dice toss. So it might bite you in the arse if you pick a really unbalanced scenario, but you end up being the person that's on the negative side of it. So there's a little bit of a gamble. There's a chance it won't be what you want it to be. But I think it could still be worth a try. It's not a terrible skill in a campaign. I know, like I was ever going to say something like that. Just make sure you've read what the scenarios are and you've got them in your memory before you activate it. If you don't do your research, it's a pointless skill to take. Doppelganger. During the select cruise step of the pre-battle sequence, this fighter's gang may attempt to include an extra fighter than normally allowed by the scenario. Have the leader of the enemy gang make an intelligence check. If they fail, this fighter's gang may include one extra fighter in their starting crew. Again, depending on your opponent and a dice roll, intelligence average, as you can see from this handy table I made, is 5.9. I did the maths. So you have a slightly under 50% chance that you can bring one extra gang member. No, don't worry about it. In my opinion, Faceless is the best one here. The rest of the tree, they're very situational. Side Touched is good for your shenanigans, but Faceless is so clearly the winner. Finally, Corpse Grinder Cults. Savagery. As you would expect, this is all about the blood. Melee specialists who hit hard can hit harder. Avatar of Blood. For every unsaved wound this fighter inflicts on an enemy fighter with a weapon with a melee trait, they may immediately discard one flesh wound they have previously suffered. Add to your survivability to remove flesh wounds and therefore restore toughness. It looks good on paper, but you need to have taken hits which didn't kill you, and then you get kills. It's an okay skill on a tree of better skills. Probably better than Avatar Way of the Water though. That looks like a load of crap. Bloodlust! After performing a coup de grace, this fighter may consolidate as well, moving up to 2 inches in any direction. Screw you about having to make a choice. Now usually after you seriously injure someone in melee, you coup de grace or you consolidate. Obviously, only if you're not already engaged in a long-term relationship with another fighter. The way I'm imagining using this is being next to a seriously injured opponent who charged you. You use an action to coup de grace them, then you consolidate 2 inches, and then you've still got an action. If you have a versatile weapon, maybe you're in range with that. You could have some fun with this in a claustrophobic scenario, like Zone Mortalis, or something that's really heavily stacked with terrain where it kind of forces you and your opponent together. Although I have no idea why they're playing against you in that sort of scenario. I've got a Crimson Haze. If this fighter is engaged with one or more enemy fighters, they automatically pass any nerve tests that they're required to take. Back to being meh, I guess. Nerve tests are a cool check you take if a friendly fighter goes out of action or is seriously injured within 3 inches of you. So this is handy if one of your guys goes down near one of your other guys, assuming that the one who didn't go down is also in a bundle. Corpse Grinder calls, they're pretty good. You're probably not moving everyone together, as grinder movement can be really varied. You end up splitting up a lot, but whatever. It's okay, fine, take it, whatever, do what you want. Frenzy! When this fighter makes a charge action, they gain an additional D3 attacks. However, their hit rolls suffer a -1 modifier. Additional attacks, but -1 to hit. So sounds good on your 2s and 3s to hit, depending on your leader or your champs. But they're making them 3s and 4s. And maybe you only get 1 additional attack. And grinders don't really have to worry about the number of attacks anyway. They only carry melee weapons, apart from their dues. And if their weapons are paired, then they're getting sort of like 5 attacks. They're getting an additional attack because they've got 2 melee weapons. They're doubling their attacks because they're paired. Quite a few are damage 2 anyway. Do you really need 8 attacks but they hit worse? Do you really need 8 attacks hitting on 3s or 4s with damage 2? Just feels like overkill. I mean, maybe you could one-shot a big beast, or you could take Killing Blow. Before rolling to hit for this fighter's close combat attacks, you can opt instead to make a single Killing Blow attack. Now, this attack cannot be made with a weapon that has a sidearm trait. It has to be a melee weapon. If the attack hits, its strength and damage are doubled, and no armor save can be made. So a single go big or go home attack. You put this on a butcher, hitting on 2s with strength 8 or 9 and 4 damage and no save. This is filth. Complete filth. I would take this just for the one-shots. Take it on a rotary flensing claw. Then you can use it from 4 inches away as it's versatile. So one attack at 4 inches, you're hitting on a 3 with a leader. You're hitting with strength 10. You're wounding an ambot on a 2. 4 damage and no armor save. I don't mind telling you, I'm a little bit aroused. Grab your coat, love. You've pulled. Slaughterborn. For every unsaved wound this fighter inflicts on an enemy fighter with the weapon with the melee trait, increase their movement by 1 inch for the duration of the battle. You want to be moving around and you want to be racking up kills with grinders. Their base is 5-inch movement, and this skill quickly turns them into an unstoppable tornado of carnage. I've seen grinders easily get 3 kills in a match. If you send your champ up against the big boys in the enemy's gang, you can easily be getting 10-inch movement in a game just because of their multiple wounds. I mean, you go in and you kill the leader of the Orlocks, and now your guy has 8-inch movement just from 1 kill. After that first kill, you're just going to snowball. But I'm still glowing from Killing Blow, and this feels like a post-coitus cuddle after the main event. Grinders have a lot of movement buffs already, so go take Killing Blow. Bonus round! Grinders get a couple of innate skills in addition to their normal skill tree picks. So butchers, the leaders, they get first to the fray. So when they charge, they add D6 to their movement, not D3. Ouch. So potentially an 11-inch charge. Cutters, the champs, they have dervish. So when they're fighting with versatile weapons, so like your rotary flensing, they have a 360 vision arc. So no -1 to hit just because they have to turn around. They swing it around like that girl in Kill Bill. Skinners, they're your gangers. They have an extra attack on the charge. Twats. That is Berserker from the Ferocity skill tree for those avid eagle-eyed viewers. Initiates, your Juves, they have Infiltrate, which is from the Cunning tree. And they're also the only gangers in your gang that can start with ranged weapons. And the FAQ says that if they get promoted, they keep their ranged weapons as well, but they do lose their Infiltrate skill. Bonus round! To add insult to injury, grinders get masks as well. So Juves, their mask gives them a +1 to their save. Grinders get +1 to their save as well. And if they're the target of a charge, the opponent has to make a willpower check first. The champs, they have +1 to save, and if their opponent wants to fight or shoot, they have to pass a willpower check, but not charge, funnily enough. It only says to fight or shoot. So that kind of feels like you should change that, otherwise you could charge in and then you're just stuck there. That seems a bit OP. Leaders have the same willpower check rules for their masks, but instead of +1 to save, their mask gives them a 6-up save, which can ignore armor piercing on weapons. But it does say it's an armor save, so if you have a weapon that ignores armor saves, then it would still ignore the mask. Please note, dear Hive Scummer, these willpower checks, they don't apply to blast templates. So burn the bastards is what I say. Honestly, just grinders, they feel so broken. If I was running a campaign again, I'd probably introduce either these masks being optional at sort of armoured underlay prices, or just a basic cost bump for the model. Innate skills and bonus items, including armour. Corpse grinders just feel like one of the most broken factions in my opinion. Okay, so that's your lot there. All the skill trees done, up until Ash Wastes. Ash Wastes, I'm not really feeling it at the moment, and the box set is quite steep. I don't need Orlocks. If you want it, get it.
You want
Necromunda Ash Wastes.
go get it. Period.
And if you want it, also check out my local game store from the link below, Games Bunker. I don't benefit if you do use the link. It's just Jim's a nice guy and the community around in the store is really good. Since I had my eye operation, I've had 3 different people give me lifts so I can still play games at the Games Bunker. So that's pretty solid. That shows what sort of community it is. Shout out to Talyrn hope I'm pronouncing that right, for sending me some of the House of Shadow rules because I broke my phone and lost the pictures. That's not related to the eye. I just broke my phone because of my clots. And shout out to you for watching till the end. Like, share, subscribe. I need it. The hive mind needs it. Give me what I want. Peace.